I'm sure of this, dear friend, that we're living in the time when it's very important that what we study together be what we would want it to have been if it were the last opportunity we had. I've just been on a trip with some meetings in various of the western states, and the Lord has been sharing with me some precious things that I've been glad to share with others. And there's some of those things that I'm happy to share with you this morning. It's easy to grow up knowing some things as facts, and yet not sensing how wonderful they are. Some people grow up in a home. It's after they get away from home that they sense what a wonderful thing it was to be with father and mother. Did any of you ever have that experience? Yeah. We've been singing this morning about the home. Home's a wonderful place. But it is true that sometimes we appreciate it the most when we're caused to wander from it, when we're away. And so it is in our Christian experience. But this morning, the thing that I would like to study with you for a few minutes is not what you get out of your religious experience, but what God gets out of it. Or had you thought of what He gets out of it? Or does He get anything out of it? Does He need anything out of it? That's the question. We think of God as the creator of the universe on His throne, surrounded by the myriads of the angel host. We think of the billions of other worlds teeming with creatures who love God and keep His commandments. And here in this world, there's 3.5 billion people, they tell me. And here I am, just one little tiny atom on a tiny planet compared with the universe of God. What can I mean to God? What can I do for God? I want to tell you something, friend. God has been sharing some things with me that make life different. There's somebody sitting here this morning that's going to go out of this chapel this morning with a new view, not just of what God means to you, but what you mean to God. It could be you. Listen and see. I was talking with the man who for many years has been our county judge there where I live. He had lost his wife recently, and we were talking together. I said to him, Judge, you know, not long ago, there was a boy down in Venezuela that was 13 years old. He was kidnapped. I wonder, is any boy or girl here this morning 13 years old? Well, okay. All right. Well, this boy, 13 years old, was kidnapped and held for ransom. His father was a rich man, and the kidnappers demanded a ransom of $900,000, nearly $1 million. And the father paid it. He got his boy back. Cost him $900,000. And I said to the judge, Judge, was he worth it? Well, he looked at me and he said, I suppose he was to his father. Must have been, or his father wouldn't have paid it. $900,000. Now I said, Judge, was there any ransom paid for you? Did anybody pay a ransom for you? What about us here this morning, folks? Did anybody pay a ransom for you? Did they? And I said to the judge, are you worth it? He hung his head and said, I'm afraid not. I said, now wait a minute. Does he know values? Does he? Does God know values? Now, if you're not worth, I said to the judge, if you're not worth what he paid for you, then he got cheated, didn't he? If you lost something that you bought down here at the dime store, you wouldn't pay $1 million to get it back. You'd just say, oh no, I can go down there. 10 to 15 cents, I can get another one. How come that God paid such a tremendous price for you if you're not worth it? Would he do that? No. No. Then I said, tell me another thing. Was the boy worth more after the father ransomed him? Was that what made him valuable? The $900,000 that was paid for him, is that what made him valuable? Was it? What do you say? Or was he worth it before? Notice, it wasn't what the father paid that made him valuable. The father paid it because he was valuable. At least that valuable. Am I right? Do you agree with me? You all see that? The value was there already. Say, tell me, as you think about it here this morning, suppose that boy is playing with some of his friends. A few days later, after he's home from the kidnappers and he's there with his father, and one of his friends says, John, my, your dad sure thinks a lot of you, doesn't he? And suppose he should say, well, I don't know, sometimes I wonder. Can you imagine that? Did you ever say anything like that about God? Did you ever think anything like that about God? I don't know. Sometimes I wonder what he thinks of me anyway. Would you like to know what he thinks of you? Look at the ransom, my friend. The ransom shows how valuable he thinks you are. By the mystery and glory of the cross, we are to discern his estimate of the value of a soul. Your soul, my soul. But I press the question, what is it that would make you and me, tiny little creatures down here in this world, that valuable to God? Now, I cannot fully explain it to you, friends, but I think I can give you an inkling. It'll give you something to think about for some time. As it's opened up to my mind, I begin to realize why I'm so valuable to God. In the first place, friends, God, being infinite, has an infinite number of longings, desires, needs. Do you need anything? Oh, yes. You and I need water, food, air. Do we need anything besides that? Yes. We need something to do. We need something to love. We need to be loved. We need to be needed. Have you discovered that? Oh, yes. People need to be needed. They need to be loved, and they need to have somebody around that needs their love. I wonder why we're like that. Well, we are that way because we were made that way. A watch is made to tick. A deer is made to run. You and I were made in these ways we've described. Do you agree with me? Is that the way you are? Do you need air? Oh, yeah. Water, food. Do you need love? And do you need not only to have somebody love you, but do you need to love somebody? Are you that way? Well, of course. How it come? Well, you were made that way. But my dear friends, the Bible says that man was made in the image of God. And the greatest thing about being made in the image of God is the ability to think and reason and love and to need someone like we are, to love us and to be loved by us. This is the greatest part of being made in the image of God. All right. Now you and I are finite. We have limited capacity. And yet, it's interesting, friends, how much we can hold. I was in the home not long ago of a physician friend of mine. And how many children do you suppose that doctor and his wife had? Well, I visited them a few years ago and they had 9 children. Well, and they had another one. And you know, they had a chance to adopt a child not too long ago. And you know what that whole family did, the father and the mother and the children? They prayed that that baby that they were going to adopt would be twins. And you know they got twins. So they've got an even dozen. Yes. Well, now, those poor little fellows that just came along, there won't be much love left for them, will they? They used it all up on the first time, didn't they? You think there'll be some left? What? Maybe more. How come? How does it happen that a tiny little heart in this world, the heart of a father or mother, can hold 2, 3, half a dozen boys and girls and love each one as if that one were the only one? How come? Well, my dear friends, the answer is clear. God made us that way. Now listen. If God can make fathers and mothers that way in this world, and brothers and sisters, husbands and wives, and all the rest of the relatives and friends that go to make life a bit of heaven on earth. Listen, if God can do that in a poor finite being, what about the one that made all that? What about his love? And what about his need? What about his need? You know, most children growing up, you folks that have gotten older, tell me if this isn't so. Most children growing up, their thought of this relationship in the home is what father and mother supply, what father and mother mean to them. Most of us have to wait until we grow up and have children of our own to begin to understand what we meant to our parents. Do you know what I mean? Yes. Do you remember that man by the name of Enoch back there in Genesis 5? It says he walked with God. He walked with God. The Bible indicates that he especially began to walk with God after he had that firstborn son, Methuselah. And for 300 years after that, he kept walking closer and closer with God. And finally, God said, in effect, Enoch, this is so good, we can't stop it. You come home with me and we'll walk together all through eternity. And that's what's been going on ever since. And mind you, it wasn't just that Enoch needed God, God needed Enoch. May I share with you a beautiful statement? If you're taking notes, and I hope you are, just write this one down. This is an inspired statement. We were brought into existence because we were needed. We were brought into existence because we were needed. Now, here is what makes this all of such infinite value. Take myself here. Why am I here? Because I'm needed. Needed where? In this world? Well, yes, some people seem to think so, and I appreciate that. But oh, the important thing is, friends, that I found out, and it thrills my soul. I'm here in this universe because I was needed by God. And God's been waiting a long time for me to come along. He planned for me before this world was made. In fact, that's what he had in mind when he made this planet. Ephesians 1:4, according as he hath chosen us in him before the foundation of the world. But here is the point. I'm the only one like this pattern. If God should lose me, what would he do? I'll tell you what he'd do, friends. I'll tell you what he has done. He's left heaven and gone on a trip to find me and ransom me and bring me back to him. That's how valuable he thinks I am. He can't bear the thought of my being lost. You see, it isn't just that he's pitiful, he is. It isn't just that he's merciful, he is. You might see a stray dog and be sorry for him and feed him. You might see a wounded man by the wayside like that Good Samaritan saw, and you might bind up his wounds and carry him to the hospital. The Good Samaritan took care of that fellow, but as far as I know, he never saw him again. His heart was moved with pity, kindness, love, that kind of love. But oh, friends, what we're talking about is infinitely beyond all that. Jesus didn't come on a trip from heaven to find me and save me just because he was pitiful. He was. But oh, he wanted me. He needed me. There was a longing in his heart that no angel could satisfy. A need in his soul that no other creature could fill. He wanted me. Me. You see, when that father lost that boy down in Venezuela, suppose somebody'd come and said, well, look here, you lost a boy. I hear, yes, and I'm wanting him. I want him. I hear they're wanting $900,000 ransom, yes, and as soon as I contact them, they're going to get the $900,000. Come, I'll give you 2 boys for just $100. How about this? Does he say, well, my, that's really a bargain. I can have twice as many boys as I have and not spend hardly any money? Does he say that? It wasn't just a boy he wanted the boy. And oh, my friends, I'm so thankful this morning that God didn't want just a man, he wanted this man. He came for me. He died for me. And he's up there in heaven now with one thought in his heart, to prepare a place for me and prepare me for that place. He wants me with him all through eternity. Oh, I know there are going to be a lot of other folks there, and I'm so glad. I don't want to be the only child in his family. I'm glad there's a lot of brothers and sisters. But friends, there's no doubt in my mind that I occupy a special place in his mind and heart. Don't you wish he loved you that much? The good news is he does, friend. There's nothing wholesale about it. No. The relations between God and each soul are as distinct and full as though there were not another soul upon the earth. Steps to Christ, page 100. Just a few days ago, I was talking with a dear mother in Israel that I hadn't seen for quite a while, in a distant state. And she began to tell me of her problems, and she's got problems, plenty of them. When she got through, I said, Sister, I've got good news for you. And I told her just some of the things I've been sharing with you this morning. And her face brightened. She got some manna. And I got through our little visit. She said, have you got that on tape? I said, yes, it's on tape. Oh, she said, I must have that. Listen, folks. Jesus wants you this morning to know how much you're worth to him. Not just for what he can do for you, but for what you can do for him. And I'm not talking just about missionary work, that's fine. What you can do for other people in this world, that's all good, and you'll want to do it. But what you can do in just letting God know that you love him. After all, what does a parent want from a child? The father and mother look at a 10-year-old boy, 12-year-old girl, and think, well, my Johnny and Mary, they sure cost us a lot, but never mind, it'll all pay off. It'll all pay off. Pretty soon they'll be earning money and they'll pay us back all we've invested and twice over. I don't hear parents talking that way. If they did, they'd be usually disappointed, wouldn't they? It doesn't work that way. Very seldom in human experience does a child, no matter how old he gets and no matter how rich he gets, ever pay half what it costs to bring him to adult life. Am I correct? Well, what on earth are they in the business for? What is it? Oh, friend. Love is the mystery that explains all other mysteries. Love makes people do some interesting things. And if what we've studied this morning is not so. Nothing matters. Life is just a hodgepodge of problems to which there's no solution, questions to which there's no answer. But if what we've studied this morning is true, nothing else matters. This is the thing to live for. And so my business in life, since I found this out, is first of all and most of all and all in all, to fill that place in His heart that I was made to fill. To satisfy the heart longing that I was created to satisfy. To make the one glad that so loved me that He gave Himself for me, Galatians 2:20. Not merely in my behalf, but in order to get me. And thank God He's gotten me, friends. Thank God He's gotten me. Oh, if He had not come for me, forever I would roam alone and lost in misery. But up and over Calvary the Shepherd bears me home. Wouldn't it be a shame to give Him the one thing He wants that I've got that He can't get unless I give it to Him? No, I can't do that. I can't reject that love. So, not only is He my friend, I'm His friend. I'm His friend. He's my friend. I found a friend, oh, such a friend. He loved me ere I knew Him. Will you turn to 531 in your hymnals? 531. See if these words don't mean more right now than ever before. Notice that second stanza too. I found a friend, oh, such a friend, He bled, He died to save me. And not alone the gift of life, but His own self He gave me. Some of you I know, some of you I've never met before. But there isn't a one of you that I know like He knows you. Is there somebody here that as you hear this message this morning, you say, Brother Frazee, this message was for me this morning? Is there somebody here this morning that says, Brother Frazee, I've known I needed God, but somehow I didn't know that He needed me so much? You know, if He needs me that bad, He's going to have me. Body and soul, all I have. If He needs me that bad, if He wants me that much, if I'm that valuable to Him, He's bid more than anybody else could ever bid. He's going to have all there is of me. Anybody would like to send Him that word this morning, just raise your hand. Thank the Lord, dear friend.